We're talking about stability. And what is stability? Stability is the comfort of routine, of regular activities, of things that you can count on, and things that are going to make you emotionally feel stable, that you have got your feet firmly planted on the ground. The gentleman who was doing the video used the example of a building that was hit by a tornado, and at some point the workers were going to have to go in and assess the stability of the structure, but he worried that what if the workers were walking on a floor that wasn't even stable? Like that was something to have to consider too, that to have the floor would have to be stable in order for the workers to do the job of determining whether or not the building was stable. So stability is paramount to beginning to unboxing our emotions and moving through the recovery process from this crisis that we're currently in. So what he did was, the guy hosting this thing, he brought up three things that can build or harm stability. And I'm going to go through them through really quickly because I'm not going to, take all the time that he did, but we're going to talk about how my thoughts on some of the stuff. So, three things that can build or harm stability that you can choose to do or not do that will either build or they will harm your stability. First, we either deal with or deny the loss. What am I talking about? The loss. The loss of emotions, the loss of the feeling of safety, of stability, the loss of employment, loss of life, even loss of loved ones. Whatever crisis, whatever trauma that strikes us at the time, we either will deal with it or we will deny it. What we're talking about here, the key word here is grief. Grief is the key word here. How are you dealing with the grieving process from what has happened because of this crisis? And sometimes denying can look completely different. We can deny that the crisis exists. I think a lot of us, I've been seeing a lot of people using their political views to try and deny the fact that this crisis exists. This crisis exists. And any form of trying to ignore that via any sort of outlet, our spiritual views, our political views, God is here. God is with us. No, yes, people lie. Yes, people have ulterior motives. But God is here with us in this crisis, which is real. And to not acknowledge that this crisis is real in any way at all is denial. And you're seeing that a lot. And I think it's a lot easier to forgive people and to be gracious to people around us who are in that denial process by acknowledging that that's what it is. They are in denial. And I was in denial about a decent amount of it myself. Then there's the other kind of denial. There's the denial that says, I'm just not going to deal with this right now. It'll somehow go away. The lack of engagement can be a form of denial because you're denying the fact that this is doing you active harm, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually even. And you have to be able to engage. Now, you're not going to engage until you come to a place where you can safely process your emotions. So safety, stability, and support, they all kind of interact with each other and they depend on one another. But we can also deny by denying the importance of engaging in the process. We can also deny by thinking that everything's going to be all better. Where everything's going to be all better and go back to normal and nothing's going to be changed in any way. That all of a sudden school's going to start in the fall and all the playgrounds and water parks are going to open up again, and everything's going to be fine and wonderful, and nothing's will have gone wrong. And the truth is that's not the case. We have lost. We have lost some things. We have lost people, first and foremost. We have lost freedoms. Yes, we have lost personal freedoms. We have lost jobs. We have lost financial opportunities. Some of us have lost investments, retirement. We've lost time. So much time that we could have spent with people. Liz and I, we lost our big wedding. The original wedding we had planned with almost 300 guests, friends and family we wanted to see and wanted to spend the wonderful day with them. Everything about the way that we originally had planned the wedding, no matter how wonderful what we ended up with was, and it was absolutely wonderful. We lost the original wedding. So being in denial is not just about pretending like this thing doesn't exist, but also pretending like it's not affecting us emotionally the way it really is, because it is, and it's going to eventually. So we need to either deal with or deny the loss, and it means having a healthy grieving process. And it is about having a healthy grieving process, and I'm talking about grieving as a good thing, because grieving is dealing with it. And so the guy actually lists 4 things to do to help you to go through grieving. I'm going to go through really, really quickly. 1, you name the loss. Sit down with your significant other, write them down so that you can see them in front of you. We actually have a whiteboard at home. I actually used a whiteboard to start writing some of this stuff. Write down the loss. Talk about the stuff you lost. What did you lose? You lose your job? You lose time with your family? Did you lose your graduation? Did you lose employment opportunities? What did you lose? What have you lost? What are you continuing to lose as this crisis continues to unfold? What is the loss? Acknowledge it. Name it. 2, understand that you're going to object to the loss. You're going to have those feelings. This is not fair. This should not have happened. We didn't do anything for this to have happened. You know, this is not something that should have happened. It is okay to object to it, to be angry, to be upset. You have to engage that. Otherwise, it's going to just tear you apart inside, and you're going to start blaming other people. Object to the loss. Be okay with being not okay with what has been taken from you. Next, grieve the loss. And these are not, I'm not talking about these as just steps in a row. These are just key things that we need to make sure that we're doing as we grieve. So grieve the loss. Be sad. Have moments where you take the time to be sad and to grieve. And that's okay. I think people are so scared of being shut down. And to be fair, decent reasons. I was alone for the longest time when Liz was in lockdown before our wedding, and I can tell you that without safety measures in place to make sure you get up and move forward after the times of being sad, you can completely shut down. But there's this fear. There's this fear, especially right now with the crisis ongoing, is that if we take the time to be sad, we're not going to be able to function. And the truth is that what we need to do is it's kind of a both and, not either or. You don't either function or grieve. No, you need to be able to get to a place where you can function, build a routine, get yourself into a safe place, not talking just about, hey, we're winning, we're beating this. No, get yourself to a good routine in a safe place in a highly functioning area so that you can have the mental and emotional capacity that's going to take to grieve. So grieve the loss and finally find purpose in the loss. This is hard. What they used to tell us all the time when I used to work for a hospital, I used to work in the emergency room, and we would go through trainings constantly. One of the trainings that I took was about dealing with people who are going through loss, because in the ER, occasionally somebody does pass away. And one of the things they always said was, do not spiritualize somebody else's pain, because it's up to them to make that decision how to spiritualize it themselves. They will make whatever decisions they need to make, or whatever way they want to look at how they view what happened to the loss. But you cannot do that for them. You are the only person who can find purpose and meaning in what is happening to us right now as a planet, as a country, as a state, as a city, as a neighborhood, as a church family. You are the only one who's going to be able to ultimately define the purpose in your grief. What is it that you can do? Is it something that you can say, I'm drawing strength from this, and I will be stronger as a person? Is it something you could say, wow, my eyes were open to all the things that should have been more important to me that weren't before, and now they are? Is it a way that you can say, I can grow closer to my family through this trauma and what is happening to us right now? Is there someone else who has gone through this kind of thing, who is going to go through this kind of thing, that you're going to be able to help them and speak to them and be there with them and love on them during this? That is all ways that we can find purpose in the loss. And that, honestly, that's going to take some time. That's going to be one of those things that's probably going to be more apparent after the crisis has subsided. But those are kind of 4 things that we can do while grieving to help us healthily grieve. Name the loss, object to the loss, grieve the loss, find purpose in the loss. So the second thing that we can do to either build or harm stability is we either take responsibility for or we blame others. Now everyone's like, "What on earth are you talking about? How can we take responsibility for a global pandemic? Like we didn't do anything." It's true, but the thing is that people with a mentality where they blame others for the things that have happened in their life or the things that are happening in their life, those are the kind of people who will always find someone to blame. And be that over focusing on the people who are not behaving in society the way that you think they should to make this crisis go away faster, be it blaming God. Maybe when acts of God, as they call them, happen, things that nobody causes, things that are just accidents, maybe if you have that mentality that you can't blame somebody else, well then you blame God. And I'm not saying that is a horrible, awful thing that no one has ever done before. Everybody does that. But it is something to think about, that we need to focus on the things that we can take responsibility for. What can we do in this situation to continue to build and grow and to survive this and to do this in a healthy way with our families? What can we do in these situations? How can we take responsibility as opposed to blaming other people or blaming God? Because if we don't learn how to take responsibility, what we're going to do is end up with a victim mentality, that is focused on every bad thing that's ever happened to us, whose fault it is, that's not ours, and everything that everybody else did. And the truth is that every single situation in our life, there's always something we can do better. Whether that makes it our fault or something that we caused is irrelevant. The truth is there's always something that we can focus on that we can do. And in this situation, we didn't cause it, and there is very little we can do besides listening to our health officials and trying to stay healthy and do all of our social distancing rules. There's very little else that we can do to make this situation any better. But what we can do is take responsibility for our own lives. And there are 5 things that we can do to help take responsibility. 1, make stability a top priority. If you don't feel like we're in a stable situation, if you feel like everything's up in the air and everything that the plans you make is completely being thrown out the window, then you are not going to be making the best decisions, and you're definitely going to be blaming other people because you don't have all the information. You don't have a situation that's stable enough for you to say, "Hey, here's a foundation for me to move forward and make decisions." You're going to be more prone to blame other people than take responsibility for yourself. So make stability in your life a top priority. 2, live within your financial means. During any of these kind of crises, live within your financial means. Don't add to the situation by doing financially irresponsible things. That some people, that's their vice. Some people, that's the thing that makes them feel better. Live within your financial means. Try to be very responsible right now financially, because that is going to also contribute to your stability and also help you make good decisions, which help you take responsibility for yourself. 3, don't overreact. Try and keep your emotions in check right now. Everybody's in the middle of this situation, and drama is such a big thing. Have you noticed emotions on the internet, especially, have just exploded? Everybody's horrible. Everybody's going to hell. Everybody's the worst person on the planet. Everybody's. It's insane the amount of emotion and drama that's happening right now, especially on the internet. And oh, one of my little kids is waving at me. Bye bye. I think that was Gabriel. Um, Overreacting and acting over emotional, it's not going to help anything. It's just going to fuel everybody else's already high emotions. Try to keep a lid on your emotions and find yourself some quiet spaces where you can, do that, because that's going to be extremely crucial to dealing with the very delicate emotional situation that we're having on our hands right now. 4, find stable friends. You ever have friends that'll sit there and you'll complain to them about something that was your fault, and then they'll tell you, "Oh, no, you did nothing wrong. You can just, good for you. You're stronger this way, and you know what you need to do? Just do this and they'll give you all this advice that makes you feel good and is horrible advice." Have you ever had people like that? Or you have people in your life who you're angry, you're upset, you're frustrated, you have a bunch of things that you really need somebody to call you out on to be your balance. And instead you just surround yourself with other people who just sit around and rant all day. That's all they do. They're just upset at life. They're bitter. They're angry. They're not moving forward in their life. They're not making goals. They're blaming other people for their problems. Don't hang around people like that. Don't choose to spend time with people like that. Find stable friends, friends who are going to support you, friends who are going to push back, friends who are seeking to learn and to grow just like you are, because in the end, that poisonous counsel is going to feel good and have no good effect on you whatsoever in the long term. And then finally, 5, limit your use of substances is something the guy said. I thought it was very interesting. Vice in times of crisis. I already brought this up months ago in our videos. Vice in times of crisis is a temptation. We need a release, an emotional release, and we feel like we can get that through overeating, caffeine, nicotine, alcohol. Let's just let loose. Let's just let loose and we'll be okay and relax and stuff like that. That is going to affect your brains. And right now, during trauma, your brain is literally rewiring itself to try and figure out what is the new normal or what has happened. And that process produces a mental fog. It produces fatigue. It produces a state of mind that makes you more tired. And it produces a mental fog. And substances, any substances that you overuse especially, they are going to make the fog worse in the long run, not better. They may make you feel a certain way for a little bit, but it's not going to lend to your stability in any way. So, 5 ways to take responsibility for your own stability. Make stability a top priority. Live with within your financial means. Don't overreact. Find stable friends. Limit your use of substances. And finally, we have the third thing. So we either deal with or we deny the loss, keyword grief. We either take responsibility or we blame others, keyword victim. And 3, we either make tough decisions or we put them off. I think everybody is scared right now. The gentleman was talking about this who was hosting the video too. Everybody is terrified right now that we're going to make bad decisions. Like, we don't have all the facts. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what the smart things to do is. What do we wear the mask? Do we go inside? Do we not? Do we hang out with this person? Do we hang out with that person? Do we hang out with nobody? Do we just go crazy, cooped up in our house? What do we do? And the reality is, we are going to make some bad decisions. That's going to happen. During crisis, during trauma, when our brain is in a fog and we don't have all the information we need and we've lost our safety and our stability, we are going to make ill-informed bad decisions from time to time. That doesn't make us bad people or people that have moved back in maturity or moved back in development or spiritual. It doesn't make us awful people. It makes us human beings. But the most important thing to be doing right now is not to get apathetic. The worst thing you could be doing right now is not making bad decisions or ill-informed decisions that turn out to be bad, but you were trying to do good. The worst thing you can do right now is to lose your sense of decisiveness. If you are trying to build your stability in your own home, you need to be decisive. Decide what you're going to do and do it. And stay with it. Stay committed. Stay stable, because that is going to stabilize your entire home life. And you may come to find out down the road that something wasn't quite as serious as you took it. Oh no, surfaces didn't need to be sanitized, but I did it the whole thing. So what? You were decisive. You made a good decision that you felt like was the most informed. And the best thing you could have done was to be decisive and be consistent with whatever you did, because that's certainly better than having done nothing because you don't know what to do. Don't let how confusing this time is for you stop you from making decisions that you feel are best for your family and for yourself. Make the tough decisions that you're being faced with the best amount of information. Be as informed as you possibly can, and then make a decision and stick to it. Be decisive. That is the third way that we can build our stability.